Hello, my name is Andrew and I love to make monsters. In this video, I'm going to make a beholder from Dungeons & Dragons out of thermoplastic. We'll get started right after this. Remember, never stop creating. I had picked up this Dungeons & Dragons book from Sam's Club. It's kind of like the search for the monster or whatever. And I love the beholder in it, so I was using that originally for inspiration. So I'm going to make this beholder using a foil base and then covering that with some Worbla. Now, I've been a fan of Dungeons & Dragons for decades. 4 decades, actually. That sounds about right. I've always enjoyed fantasy creatures where the griffin and the dragon and the manticore, Pegasus, a lot of these fantasy creatures, especially like ones from mythology, they have a look to them that is connected to the real world because they're lots of times inspired or made up of different animals. But the beholder stood out as something different. This creature that's, floats, and it has the familiarity of having, an eye and a mouth, but then it has all these eye stalks with all these eyes. With all my pieces covered with Worbla, I'm going to go ahead and sketch out the face on my beholder base. I don't know what these body parts of the whole beholders are called. I know they have eye stalks, and so this is like a head body thing. But anyway, so I sketched that out, and I'm going to start placing on my eye stalks. With those all done, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the eye and the mouth. Now the mouth I'm going to fill with black Worbla, so that way when I'm painting it, if I don't have to worry about getting in there and getting every surface covered. Now I'm going to use Thibra to make the eyes. Thibra is a little bit smoother than Worbla. It's still another thermoplastic. I can use my heat gun to sculpt it. But it is smoother and it's easier to smooth and add texture to, which I want these really smooth. So I did the center eye, now I'm going to make 10 of the little eyes. So I was really happy with all the eye stalks in the eyes, but I was not happy with the main eye and the mouth. So I did do some adjusting to those. And then I wanted to sculpt a tongue just in case you could see into the mouth with all the teeth in place. Yes, he's gonna have teeth. He's not gonna look like that. Now I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for a skin texture for this guy, and I was looking up pictures of beholders, and they are all over the place. They look scaly, stone-like, spiky, all kinds of different. I'll throw up some different reference pictures here on the screen just so you can see all the variations the beholders can be. So I figured there's no right or wrong with this guy. So I just had this idea to just add these layers of Thibra and texture it, and I thought that would be kind of cool to paint it. Now I wanted him floating, so I was trying to come up with some floating stand ideas. I went on Amazon and I found these acrylic rods. If you need these acrylic rods for anything, I will put an affiliate link down below, so just all clarity, it won't cost you more for you, but it will give a little kickback to the channel since I directed you there. And this worked really well to do an indentation in the beholder. And then I scored the edge of this acrylic rod just to make sure that the Worbla would attach to the other end. The beholder itself will never be attached, but I wanted to make a base. The beholder will just sit down on it. So the base, I thought it'd be kind of cool to do kind of a dungeon floor base, some stones that he's traveling across. Probably my first exposure to a beholder was in the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon that was out in the early 80s. There's an episode that features a beholder, and I always thought that was, really cool creature. And later, I remember playing the Eye of the Beholder computer game. The box features this really cool skeleton, but the Super Nintendo one actually had a beholder on the box. And I do remember fighting the beholder at the end of the game. I know it's one I finished, but I don't think I ever tried the other two games for whatever reason, probably because there's too much stuff out there. With both the base and the beholder done, I'm going to cover both of them with some gesso. It's a surface prep. It'll help the acrylic paint adhere to the thermoplastic. With the surface prep done and dried, I'm going to go ahead and give it a base coat of black. That way when I dry brush over it, all the dark crevices will be black. I love dry brushing, and I love using a dark base for that. It gives the sculpture more depth. Now to move on to adding some colors, I'm using red for the tongue. I noticed some paint on the base of the acrylic rod, so I wanted to scrape that off. For the base, I just dry brushed it a bunch of different shades of gray. I started with dry brushing it all one shade of gray, and then I lightened up the gray and picked out different stones to make lighter. Now the main color of the beholder is going to be a pearlescent violet. I dry brushed several coats of this over the whole body and all of the eye stalks. Originally, I was going to lighten this up and dry brush it over the higher peaks of the texture, but since it's this iridescent, it really had this cool reflective property to it that I didn't feel like I needed to do anything else with it. With the majority of the beholder painted, I'm going to make the teeth, and I made the teeth out of Primo Sculpey. I did some white translucent, and yellow, and different mixtures of that to give me some different shades of teeth, and bake those according to package instructions. Now to attach the teeth, I'm just using some Loctite super glue gel, a little pair of these plastic tweezers, and locking them into those holes that I had pre-made earlier. I wasn't real happy with the white on the eyes, and I found this pearl white in my wife's collection of art supplies. So I applied this with a sponge to give it a texture, and I thought the pearl white went better with iridescent violet. I thought it was a really cool effect. For the center of the eye, I'm using Folk Art Color Shift Aqua Flash Turquoise Brilliant. Again, I wanted to go with something that had kind of an iridescent metallic look to it. And then I'm using black for the pupils and outlining the center of the big eye. So I wasn't real happy with how this eye was looking, so I went ahead and covered it with some more of the Color Shift paint and then redid the pupil. Last painting I need to do is a nice dirty wash of brown to go over the teeth, because he is a monster and monsters don't always take the best care of their teeth, so we're gonna kind of dirty him up. Now I thought it would be fun to have a little color on the base, so I'm using some of this Diamond Glaze water-based dimensional adhesive to apply some blended turf fine green. Now, something I wanted to try with the eye was to add these little veins using wool roving. I saw a similar technique to this in another video. This isn't exactly how they did it, and I did have some problems doing it this way. I've never done this before. But overall, I think the new eye looks way better than the old eye. Now, the last thing our beholder needs is a little more shine to its eyes. So I'm using some UV resin to give it a nice coating. Give the beautiful teeth the same treatment, and then we'll take a look at our finished sculpt. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a like. If you have ideas for other monsters you want to see me make, please leave it in the comments down below. I had been wanting to make something for my son, so I had sent him a message to see if he had any ideas, and he requested a beholder, which I thought was perfect because I absolutely love beholders. And I'm really happy I was able to make this guy and actually get him done for him. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my dragon video. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching, and remember, never stop creating. Bye!